to
Hello, hello.
another edition of Alley Talk. What up, Alec?
What's going on, Matt?
Not much. Welcome everybody back to Alley Talk. I believe this is episode 5 of this little thing we
It
call.
sure could be.
It sure could be. This little Phillies podcast thing that we have been doing. In case you've never tuned in before, the goal of Alley Talk. We have many tremendous writers here at Philly Sports Network who break down the Phillies, and so every week we try to get a different pairing to discuss, Phillies baseball. And with the first spring training game just 2 days away, we wanted to hop on, talk all things pitchers and catchers so far. We'll talk the John Middleton interview, some of the quotes that he had. We'll talk about these god awful jerseys that Fanatics has produced.
And the pants, can't forget the pants.
Cannot forget the pants. And so we're going to talk all things Phils as we lead into their first spring training game on Saturday. And just a reminder, we will be going live Saturday at 12:55, 1 o'clock ish, as the Phillies get ready to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll be watching the game with you guys, so feel free to hop in. We'll all talk Phillies ball together as the first game's happening. And who knows? I think it could be a good time. But Alec, you ready to get into this thing?
Absolutely, it's baseball season.
It is baseball season. I don't know if everybody watched the Dodgers Padres game today on ESPN. I tuned on I was so excited for baseball. I'm tuning in, and the Dodgers put up an 8 spot in the first inning on the Padres. So it's like, well, baseball's back, baby.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that first inning, and then I'm like, well, that's good. Good for them.
I was like, all right, yep, let's get the Saturday, let's get the Phils on here. But yeah. So I guess we could start with kind of what has happened in spring training thus far. Nothing big in terms of any major news, which is good. Honestly, you don't want a lot of news in spring training.
No, because it's usually an injury.
Correct. And so far so good. Um, Kodai Senga of the Mets, they announced today he's going to be shut down for honestly what it feels like 2 months is my internal timeline. I'm not a doctor by any means, but if he's not going to be ready to go by opening day, 6 weeks away, I'd give it another couple weeks. So a big rival just lost their ace.
Yeah, which sucks because A, he's on my deep fantasy team, and B, I did put money on him to win the Cy Young this year.
Mm, Yeah, very good pitcher. Sucks for the Mets. It helps the Phillies. I don't know when they match up for the first time this season, so I'm not sure if that injury will affect that by any means. But hey,
Yeah, I couldn't tell you on that one either. I know the opening day is against the Braves.
correct. I can pull up the old schedule that we have going. But so yeah, no injury news or anything like that. Well, I guess we could talk about Brandon Marsh.
Yeah,
That
it
that
seems
was
like good news out of Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, so like in case you missed it, Brandon Marsh kind of came into camp and he announced that he's gonna be shut down for a few weeks. Had a little thing going on with, I believe it was his knee, correct?
Yeah, it was like some floating bodies in his knee. Uh, but today the Phillies had a video of him playing golf with Stubbsy, and I mean he had some bandage around his knee. But if he's playing golf, I mean obviously maybe not have him sprint, but if you can golf, you can hit.
Yeah, I mean he's out there and he's moving. I know he's doing some light drills, so I'm not by any means concerned from that
No, not at
standpoint.
all.
So I think Marsh will be okay. They said he should be ready for opening day. I would like for him to get some at bats and stuff like that in spring training, but it's not the end of the world if not.
I still think he will, but maybe starting like around St. Patty's Day or something. I think if anything, we see him the last 2 weeks of spring training. So that's yeah, that's fine
Yeah,
with me.
yeah, it works for me, right? The
Yeah.
Phillies played the Mets on May 13th in New York. They have a little 2-2 home and
Mm,
away series split.
little Mother's Day action.
Yeah, so we won't have to see the Mets until May with the whole schedule change that unveiled last year. But just kind of so continuing with the whole spring training thread, the Phillies added Whit Merrifield. I don't believe we have discussed that on Alley Talk.
I don't
Uh,
believe so.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of good articles about it out there. Sean Nestor with his catchy whiz wit headline that I know everybody's using with Merrifield.
I
What
swear
are you?
Sean came up with it first. I swear.
I Credit to Philly Sports Network is all I was gonna say.
Yeah,
But what are your overall thoughts on the Whit Merrifield signing? I'll let you go, and then I'll dive in after that.
it's fine. It's fine. It's backup. Finally, like if a corner outfielder goes down, he can play the corner outfield. God forbid Stock goes down, he can play second base. Uh, he's fine. He's fine.
You kind of took the words right out of my mouth because that's how I feel about. I feel about it. Like I like it. It's a nice depth move. For the first time, the Phillies actually have a bench piece that I'm like, okay, I like this.
Yeah,
Um,
they bought an $8 million insurance plan.
Basically, yeah, I like the versatility. I know a lot of people were breaking down. He's not actually a super utility man like people are making out to seem. He
But he
primarily
is
plays
still a
second.
utility guy. Not super utility, like, but
He could
you
play
know,
second and left,
yes.
realistically.
And that means you could also play right.
Right, in theory. I mean, in theory, Sosa could play center field, right? He did that a couple times in spring training last year. I mean, you could really put any of these guys anywhere for a game or two, and they can get by. Obviously, you don't want Whit Merrifield having to play starting left field every day for you, but if it happens, it wouldn't be the worst thing, I guess.
Yeah, and again, it's an insurance policy. Hopefully, we don't really need him, but he's there to give guy breaks. He'll probably play like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Um, Yeah, it's fine. And I'm more fine with it now because after that signing was when, and maybe we'll just transition right into this, was the Middleton interview
Mhm.
where Middleton discussed about how they were saving, I think the phrasing was their powder for the trade deadline. So just because they only have about like 15 million to the next cap, it seems that that's not going to be a deterrent and that John Milton is going to do whatever he needs to get it done this year. And by getting it done means putting the Phillies in the best position. It's up to them. So I'm ready for it. But yeah, we can get into those comments quickly. One of the main ones was, and I can pull up the quote real quick here. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
it
while you
was
do that, I mean, Alec dropped a very nice article on the whole interview itself. So check that out at phillysportsnetwork.com. Dropped earlier this evening. So it was quite enjoyable, sir.
oh well, thank you. But yeah, uh, it seems that both Middleton and Dombrowski are on that same page about saving for the trade deadline. And here's the exact quote from Scott Lauber's piece in the Inquirer. Uh, quote, "What Dave decided we do, and I agree with him, is save the powder. If you don't spend it now, you can always spend it in July and maybe make a better, more aggressive trade, and you've got the money to pay for it." And that is excellent for me to hear because honestly, why not save it for now? The Phillies have the base down, the
Hmm.
foundation is built. But hey, maybe a crack forms in one of the cornerstones, but you got the materials behind you to fix it. There's a couple good starters rumored to be on the trade block. You know, Shane Bieber's a free agent next year.
Should not cost much.
But he'll cost a pretty penny. But that's a guy that if you sign and have the possibility to re-sign, that's like a Cliff Lee.
Well, that also depends on what happens with Wheeler. I mean, because if you get that deal locked in,
I
um,
mean, that's true, but like,
you know,
who isn't looking for young starting pitching that you can maybe flip a Chris Sanchez to?
it's possible. I think
And then you
this
have
is.
Painter as depth because Painter's going to be
Oh,
back next year.
that's true. You'll have. I think this is a make or break year for Griff McGarry and
Oh,
McAble.
absolutely.
I think they both. Now, I'm not saying they have to come up to the majors and be an instant starter
No,
and starter.
but McGarry has fallen down prospect lists heavily.
Yes.
He was a borderline top 100 guy on pretty much everyone's list, and he took a hit. But apparently, I think he's adjusted his delivery. So we'll
Yeah.
have to see how that impacts his development. Of the three guys, he was the lowest tier. Mick Abel, we saw last year, just fairly inconsistent.
Mhm.
He's a tall guy, real tall guy, and sometimes it's harder to control the mechanical things behind that when you have that hype behind you. So we'll see how that goes. Painter is still far and away the most hyped out of all of them. He's still on prospect lists, like in the 20 to 30 range, and
Mhm.
he didn't pitch last year. That's how legit people view Andrew Painter. So that's encouraging to me. And that's a guy that if, rehab goes well, even maybe we see him at the end of the season. But
I don't think we see him at all.
I don't think so either.
precautionary wise. But yeah, no, I think if I'm looking ahead a year, and I don't mean to skip ahead to 2025, but
Hmm.
in theory, they're gonna have Andrew Painter fresh and ready to go in spring training. I I mean, he's that damn good. I don't if he performs well in spring, I could just see them having him start in the big leagues and then they manage his innings versus having him waste bullets in AAA. So you're looking at a rotation of confirmed. It's Nola, Suarez, Walker, and then at that point Sanchez and Painter.
And we'll see how Sanchez does this year.
Yeah.
He had a breakout season last year where he decided to stop walking guys, and we
Always good.
have to see if he can repeat that. That's going to be a big factor in the back of the rotation success is Chris Sanchez. Because we saw him on that stretch, especially when the Phillies were on that away win streak. He was a big part of that.
Hmm.
I remember he was excellent in Oakland, but I know that's a terrible team they're fielding out there. But nonetheless, it's encouraging to see.
No, I agree. I like Chris Sanchez as a five. That is a very strong upside five,
He
and
is.
it allows for the Phillies to also get creative. And what I mean by that is like, let's say Taiwan Walker isn't having a bounce back season, or maybe Ranger Suarez is banged up again, or maybe one of Wheeler and Nola goes down. You can use Sanchez and kind of as he's proven he could be a stopper in a lot of role in a lot of the sense. Like Bailey Falls from 2022 came out of
Yeah.
nowhere. It was a stopper for the team at points. Sanchez was like that last year, and then you have the guys able,
But before
McGarry.
before we scare anyone, Chris Sanchez definitely has better stuff than Bailey Falter.
Yes.
Bailey Falter was propped out behind. He had like excellent delivery where uh, his extension uh, made his fastball look like 3 miles an hour fastball or faster, but that meant it only looked like a 93, not 94, maybe 95 mile an hour fastball. So, uh, I mean, Chris Sanchez actually has the stuff. The thing was, he just walked too many guys.
Hmm.
So, again, we'll see how it goes, how they handle Taiwan Walker, because, again, we need to see more from Walker. Yeah, he led the team in pitching wins, but as we all know by now, doesn't count for much anymore. If anything, it's just like, oh wow, he got to 20 wins, good for him.
Yeah, I don't value. I mean, most people in traditional baseball don't value wins, but I will say it's still impressive that I believe he finished with 15.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a fun stat.
it
It's
is. It's
yeah,
just, and I'll say this: he had the worst first inning ERA in all of baseball. Quite literally, if he just does 30% better, his numbers look phenomenal. Like he was better the more times he went through the rotation versus, the less. Most guys they get to the third time through and their numbers start to fall off. Taiwan Walker was better the more he faced guys in a
how many
weird reverse.
times last season did we see Walker give up 3 to 4 runs in the first 2 innings and then go 6, 7? And then we're
Mhm.
like, I guess that's not bad.
Yeah, and he bought the team time to score because they have a prolific offense, and chances are he leaves that game with a lead or a tie game. That's why he didn't have too many losses last year. That's why he led the team in wins. So, like we just said, the win stat isn't everything for a pitcher, but at the same time, if you have to go long into ball games, you have to pitch at least 5 innings if you're a starter to get a win. So,
You do have to do something right and able to get to like 15 and 20 wins. Like you have to be doing something right. It's just almost impossible to kind of like fall ass backwards into getting that many wins. So again, I we'll see how it goes. The Phillies do have a nice rotation behind them. Everyone's looking healthy. My desk is wood. I'm knocking on it. But we'll see once guys get going. Spring training is just starting, and we'll see Aaron Nola the first home game for spring training.
yes, we will. Yeah, we could break that down a little bit. So on Saturday against Toronto in Toronto, well, in Toronto's facility, um, it'll be Kobe Allard, one of the pickups this offseason, a guy who's going to be competing for the kind of the long man role, maybe the quote unquote six starter in a sense to where if one of the
The
guys goes down,
mythical Dylan Covey role. Oh,
basically. And then Aaron Nola will pitch on Sunday at Baker Ballpark. stay tuned tomorrow afternoon. I have a little piece dropping on Baycare Ballpark.
Ooh,
Um,
tease.
yeah, ooh, just so check that out. But yeah, so Nola will go in the home opener, and I believe uh, so. In my opinion, I think Zach Wheeler is the better of the two.
Yes, I think
However,
everyone would agree.
right, but Aaron Nola deserves to start on opening day again, in my
I'd be
humble opinion.
fine with it. Like I wouldn't have anything against it, and I don't think Wheeler would either. So it would be cool to see again to see if another a Phillies pitcher keep going as that opening day starter, just a guy that you can bank on being there, and
Hmm.
it's nice. It is. It's just welcoming. It's like a warm blanket on a chilly day. Just nice. But yeah, I don't think Wheeler would take any offense to that. But vice versa, I don't think Aaron Nola would take any offense to Wheeler starting game one. But
Yeah, no, I agree. Nola has done it 6 years in a row, so this would be seventh. I believe this moves him into second place all time. Carlton at 14.
phew,
And I mean, to be fair, Nola has signed in a 7-year extension. He could get to the 13 if he started every year on opening day.
you're projecting now.
I am, but I'm just saying, he could chase Steve Carlton in that right.
Yeah, but
Actually,
wouldn't you
Robin
like to
Roberts,
daydream?
I do. I love
Oh,
daydreaming.
Robert. No, I'm saying daydream about at some point Painter entering the rotation, surpassing Nola, being that homegrown guy, and Nola might be more of a three guy, and they'd be like, "Hey, you're the guy now."
The passing of the torch.
Yeah.
It looks like Nola is in third. Robin Roberts at 12 in a row, which is
Ah,
nuts.
well,
But
Robin
yeah,
Roberts was nuts. So,
yeah, exactly. So, uh, speaking of nuts,
indeed.
I don't know for those who are watching. I don't know if you have seen the Fanatics jerseys for this season. If you're watching, I feel like you have, and so you know what we're talking about. But for those who haven't, Fanatics is now in charge of the player uniforms for Major League Baseball, and they are absolute garbage. And that's not just saying, oh, they look bad. Like they are actually the worst quality of a
Yeah, it
professional league
looks
I've ever
like
seen.
they'd be a giveaway jersey.
Giveaway jerseys are better.
Might
Anybody
be.
who's purchased DH Gate jerseys, DH Gate has done it better.
And I'll say for the pants, if you haven't seen the pants yet, I work for Rawlings Sporting Goods, and that level of see-through pants is a pair of pants that I would sell for $10. At least that's what it looks like. The regular pants we sell for like $30 are probably way better than that. I don't think I've ever heard any problems of see-through pants.
And it's ridiculous. If the players have been tucking in their jerseys as they normally do,
Yeah.
and have been taking team photos, and you could see where the jersey ends when they tuck in. Like it's fully transparent.
And you know
Um,
what's ridiculous too? It's not even amateur photography that it's showing up on. It's like the first image of Otani in a Dodgers jersey for the team. You can see it. It's like that is a professional studio with the best lighting in the world and they can't hide it.
Correct.
That's how
Um,
bad it is.
and if a player in theory decided to not wear anything underneath their pants,
You know there's someone. You know there's someone who's really superstitious and hasn't worn underwear since college. You
yeah,
just
so
know it.
that's gonna be popping out. It's
The
not.
first rainy day, the first rainy game. I don't know. We're getting a little hog. Go a
Yeah,
little hog wild.
it's like a wet t-shirt contest.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Well, all the players will be starting off with two balls.
But yeah, so I wonder if the league's gonna step in and require Fanatics to overhaul this. Um,
Well, it sounds like the players' union might, make a fuss about it, and it is a strong union.
mhm.
So, the question is like, why did Fanatics take over the production, even if it's still Nike? Like, why did we get a middleman on this?
I'm
We
not
didn't
sure.
need anybody else. The Nike jerseys were fine. People got over the swoosh pretty quickly.
I would
And
much rather
now
have a swoosh on the side with a sponsorship patch than what we
then a
have.
swoosh through the pants. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Unless this was a marketing strategy to get
I mean,
patch, people are like, oh, I'll take a patch over what we have, and maybe that was their ploy. I don't know. I don't think Rob Manfred thinks that far ahead on anything.
what, like buying patches on top of jerseys?
No, I
Like,
just mean like fans have been very anti having advertisement patches on jerseys.
oh,
So
yeah. I mean, the Phillies hadn't done it, which God bless them.
right, but it'll
There's no
it'll come.
quick creed on us.
WB Mason incoming, but you
I
know
wouldn't even. You know what? WB Mason. I wouldn't even imagine a Wawa patch,
that would be cool. I would
bro.
be okay with that.
Imagine. You couldn't tell
Mhm.
me that Wawa wouldn't do that either,
They
and
definitely would.
everybody would
Mhm.
support a Wawa patch. Like only maybe the old heads, and everyone is just like, I buy a jersey with a Wawa patch. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I like I'm saying, they're like, all right, well, we could distract them with the poor quality of jersey, and then all right, we'll fix it. But there's gonna be patches, and people are like, all right, I'll take the compromise. Maybe
I
that
mean,
was their
as
play.
long as we don't start looking like soccer jerseys where like the logo front and center is an advertisement, uh we'll be all right. But that's a big if.
I'm sure that's coming too. I mean, it's just the natural progression of these things. But
Uh,
it's honestly like it's just a shame that instead of talking about oh these jerseys are awesome, look at these cool designs, this that and the other, everybody's
we could
trashing them.
we could still be talking about the batting practice hat. We could, with the
Mm.
little fanatic on it. We all love that. Universally love that. We could still be talking about it. Everybody could be like, who's the first to get it? No, we're talking about these jerseys because they suck. And not just the jerseys, the pants. Like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, they're more breathable. Yeah, because it's thinner and cheaper.
They stuff will be breathing all right with these new jerseys. So I guess we'll see how long it takes them to step in.
Yeah, breath of
Even
fresh air down there.
you're not can. I'm sure it'll feel real good in the middle of the dog days of summer, but
The hog days of summer, you
the
mean?
hog days of summer. That might be the podcast episode tonight. Uh, but yeah. So that's I mean that's kind
Oh
of
no, I just had a thought.
oh no.
Dollar hog night.
Oh my god. Speaking of hot dog night, I still not on the schedule.
Oh
Gotta-
no.
Breaking
You
news.
listen, listen. Everyone who threw a hot dog, I don't care that you were just joining in with other people, but you're the problem. You're the reason I can't get a reasonably price glizzy this season. Why can't I gorge myself on 5 hot dogs because of your ass?
Yeah, bring back Dollar Dog Night. Hashtag we want Dollar Dog Night.
Justice for the dogs
Justice for the
and
dogs.
justice for the hogs.
Put that on a T-shirt. My favorite bit of Alley Talk. So yeah, Phillies kick things off against Toronto on Saturday. I'm interested to see who's actually going to suit up in that game. Um, I would be willing to bet no Bryce Harper.
No, probably not.
Um, maybe
Although
Trey.
Rob has Rob Thompson has mentioned he does want to conduct this a little bit more like regular season to get things, really get into it.
Okay.
Um, I know he mentioned that, so we'll see. Maybe we do see more regular guys quicker. Because usually, maybe you're lucky in the first game to get like one guy, maybe two.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
but I think we'll get like Rojas. My guess will be Stubbs behind the plate.
I would think
Um,
Marshawn.
you think
Um,
Marshawn?
I would think Marshawn, and then maybe Stubbs to catch Nola.
I guess that would make sense.
But
But yeah, we'll
yeah,
see. Uh, but I'm excited for actual Phillies baseball, as
mhm.
everyone else should be.
No, I can't wait. I mean, you're gonna have there's gonna be a battle for the last bench spot. There's about 6 or 7 guys competing for that. I think the bullpen's
If
pretty much
Castro somehow
shot
gets
solid.
it,
Castro's not getting it. Maybe on the next episode of Alley Talk, we take bets on who we think the last guy is gonna be.
who do we think the last guy on the bench is going to be?
Scott Kingery.
Give me Weston Wilson.
Weston would probably be
But
the
like,
top option.
but then you have like Do you have 6 outfielders on the roster then?
He could play the infield though.
Oh yeah, he can play first and third, can he?
Yeah,
Ah,
interesting.
very good.
Brings power from the right-handed side, something that the
I
Phillies need off the bench.
stand by my original answer. No questions asked.
There you go. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Saturday's game. Finally getting some Phillies baseball. It's been far too long. Um, Knowing the Phillies, they're gonna lose the first spring training game. I feel like that's a rite of
It's
passage.
it's fairly typical.
Yeah, you know, they do
So
have
what?
over 11,000 in counting losses. Cheap plug.
Which reminds us, we do need to record again, lest we're forgotten.
We could do it. Maybe we can do a little baseball's back podcast, but we will figure that out.
Maybe Saturday night. Maybe. Yeah, anyway.
Maybe, yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly.
But anyway, there's still some big names out on the free agent market. We still got the reigning NL Cy Young winner Blake Snell. Got Jordan Montgomery, who was featured heavily for the Texas Rangers in their World Series run. We got Cody Bellinger. We got JD Martinez, who's been a reliable DH. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, who's the other? There's another guy too. Uh,
Matt Chapman.
Matt Chapman. Yeah, well, they're all Boris clients. That's number one. But I honestly think it's ridiculous. And I wrote about this the other day. I think baseball needs to have a deadline for free agent signings over a certain range.
Oh, like you're saying a certain amount. Like if you don't sign by this amount, you can't sign for this amount.
Correct. Yeah. If you don't sign by January
Mm.
15th, you can't sign a deal that's longer than 4 years or over $100 million or something along those lines.
We might, but what about the issue of teams like potentially doing that to cheapen these deals? Like
I think
intentionally doing it.
right. I think while some teams will try and get away with that, I think there will be teams like the Phillies who would hop out in front of that.
That's
Smart teams
true.
would hop out in front of that and not try and play hardball and get the deals done early. Um, and I'm sure the Players Association would want something uh, for protections and stuff like that, and that's fine. They can work that out. But I just think you
Maybe
need an
that's how you
incentive.
negotiate a maybe that's how you negotiate a salary floor,
There you go.
because if those teams aren't spending, it'd be like, "Hey, they waited. They were trying to wait out these guys."
hmm
Maybe.
Like I know everybody has their values that
I
they
think
put
that
to
would be a
players.
fair trade though.
I agree. No, I think that's a great idea because there's no reason why in the NFL and the NBA, the moment free agency hits, bang, 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 all these players are signing, and then maybe a couple days after you have the rest of the field that starts to trickle through. There's no reason why it should take 2.5 months for a Shohei Otani to sign after free agency opens. There's no reason why Matt Chapman and Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell and all these guys, spring training has started, games have started, and they're not on a team. And I know it's
Yeah,
not like
March is a week away.
exactly. And I know if they sign tomorrow, it's not that big of a deal. But the point is, these are the best players in the game. They should be on rosters. And you know who this affects the most? This affects the Michael Lorenzens. The guys who
Yeah,
aren't guaranteed a roster spot. Michael Lorenzen had a great 2023. Was an
he
all-star
did.
with the Tigers, traded at the deadline, pitched well for the Phillies, and pitched in the playoffs. He wasn't a playoff starter, but he performed in the playoffs, right? That guy earned a 2024 contract based on his 2023 play, and the chances are he's going to get a minor league contract with the major league option to join a roster or something like that.
Yeah, he
Like,
should at least be a guy getting like a 1 year 10 million or something.
exactly, he earned that. And so, like, these are the guys that get hurt because if I have a spot left in my rotation and I'm the Yankees, and I know I can afford a Blake Snell, I'm not going to sign a Mike Lorenzen until Blake Snell's off the market. So it just clogs everything up. So I think there needs to be some sort of deadlines put in place. I don't like it. Doesn't have to. I wrote it
Michael,
out.
who knows? Maybe Michael Lorenzen will end up being a Met because maybe the Senga injury is worse than we think.
It's very possible.
His
There are
shoulder
plenty of
problems,
teams.
that
That's not good. Not good for the Mets. Um,
eh,
but
eh.
the A's very could easily sign
Oh,
Michael Lorenzen and make a
The
starter. Like
entire A's situation. I What are we doing? Like if they're not they won't be moving into Vegas until like what, 28?
And that's not even guaranteed at this point.
Something like that?
Correct. Yep. They're gonna be homeless for 4 seasons.
Yeah, they're going to be playing at like AAA stadiums. What are we doing? This isn't COVID when like Canada was locked down, where it forced the Blue Jays to play in Buffalo for a year
Hmm.
and for 30 games. That's That's not what we're doing here. How are we not prepared? Like, how did you not like make a contingency to be like, hey, you got a plan? Like, make sure you extend your lease to this, and you can start working on this. No, they're just. I mean, O.co is probably the worst stadium in the league,
It's god awful.
but
I've been there. Yeah.
oh, you have.
It is quite literally a hole in the wall.
Oof, oof.
Yeah. I'll be nice about it. The people out there are great. They were just happy to see me, honestly. But yeah. It
Ah, yes, the family from the east.
like I had a
How
Jim
was the
Thome
old
jersey on.
country?
Yeah, like and the mascot messed around with me and stuff. Like
Oh,
I
the
was like,
elephant.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm like, there's like 6 people here, and
Oh.
it's just it's honestly it's a shame because the fans deserve way better than what they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, Rob Manfred has allowed for this to happen under
And
his
he's been
poor leadership.
so callous to that fan base too. Like just no sympathy. Like it's just like, "Oh, but there's a team right across the bay. Go cheer on them." That's like asking the Mets fans to cheer on the Yankees if the
Hmm.
Mets left.
And in
That's like
actuality,
asking Dodgers fans to cheer on the Angels.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the A's have more World Series titles than the Giants. Like, this is supposed to
Yeah.
be the better franchise.
Yeah, historically, yes.
It,
I mean,
it's such
but
a
the
shame.
problem is their last peak was, well, I mean, they won a World Series in 89? 89. Because 88 was the Dodgers. 89. Uh, but before that, they had a dynasty in the 70s. Like not even like a like oh yeah they won 2 worlds. They won 3 World Series in like 5 years.
Hmm.
Like like legitimately one of the few legitimate baseball dynasties.
The A's have more championships in Philadelphia than any of the current Philadelphia teams. So, I mean, it's a shame. Um,
How did
but
I still
you
don't
know,
understand how did we end up keeping the Phillies and not the A's? How did that happen?
yeah, I
How
don't
did it
know.
happen?
I
I
guess yeah, I don't
Get
know.
Larry Shank on this. We need Larry Shank. He's the Phillies historian.
That's a good question. But yeah, I don't know how. I don't want to say how we got stuck with the Phillies because boy, do I love our Phils. And when we do another episode of 11,000 and counting, we could talk
This
about that.
ridiculous green guy out here. How'd we get stuck with him instead of the green elephant? What's going on?
I have
What's
no
going
idea
on?
what even is a Philly, but yeah, it happens, and that's why we're here talking about them. So yeah, I mean, honestly, that's all I have on the Phils in spring training at this point. We'll get that game action Saturday. Like I said, tune in on Saturday afternoon. We will be live doing a watch along for that game. So we'll have a bunch of people hop on. Might have a certain Englishman, company founder, ball knower, hop on
1975 enjoyer?
possibly. So we'll see. But I'm trying to get a couple people on to come talk Phils while we watch the game with you guys. So Alec, do you have anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, John Milton wants our Yuckin trophy back.
T-shirt idea. T-shirt
Just put Goofy in the like really poorly drawn Goofy in like just a Phillies polo and just be like, I want my Yuckin trophy back.
copyright trademark phillysportsnetwork.com. But yeah, so no, maybe we'll sell those. But yeah, so make sure you tune in with us on Saturday. Uh, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Alley Talk. We'll be back every Thursday. Like I said, different crew every week. Make sure you're checking out our content at phillysportsnetwork.com or picking up a copy of the Metro Philadelphia newspaper. And we have plenty of good stuff in store for you. So thank you all for listening and have a good night.
Go Phils.
Go Phils.